And I am Kemeni Amano. We are delighted to deliver WAMS with the support of leading mining companies across West Africa. A special thank you to our sponsors, without whom the conference would not be possible. We have a comprehensive program over the next day and a half, which, thanks to our experts, will provide detailed overview of the challenging security landscape in West Africa. Now, as you'll see from the program, our format includes time for joint question panels after each block of presentations. During the Q&A, please raise your hands. My colleagues, who today will be microphone runners, will bring the microphone to you. House rules?
Yep. So before we begin, I have a few housekeeping matters to bring to your attention. Bathroom facilities are outside this room to the right, that's to my right, and also back towards the lobby. Also, our morning and afternoon tea breaks will be held just outside this room. It will be right to my left. 2 tokens have been provided for lunch today and tomorrow, and it will be served in the room next door. Please do well to present those tokens to the hotel staff at the door once you get there. Transport will also be provided for this evening's cocktail reception hosted by the Australian High Commissioner, to which you are all invited, by the way.
Indeed, and to kindly assist us with managing security, please wear your lanyards, these ones, and kindly bring them to the reception tonight to secure your seat on the bus, but also prevent additional checks when you get to the venue for the reception. Now, questions about logistics or other matters can be directed to the Australian High Commission staff. Again, you can identify us with the white lanyards. That's really important. We're there to help you with all your questions around logistics and any other questions you may have about the event. For internet connectivity, I know some of you have been asking already. Wi-Fi details have been provided on each table. Look on your table, you find that. Finally, we deeply value your feedback on the conference. Complete our online feedback survey by scanning the QR codes on the posters around this room.
Now, please join me in welcoming to the podium to welcome you to the conference, Her Excellency Bernice Owen-Jones, Australian High Commissioner to Ghana with non-resident accreditation to Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Guinea, Liberia, Mali, Senegal, Sierra Leone, and Togo. A round of applause as she takes the stage, please. Now, our High Commissioner will deliver parts of her remarks in French, so please do have your translation devices ready. If they are not working, please raise your hand and one of the team members will assist you wherever you are. Merci beaucoup, Your Excellency. Yeah.
Honourable Minister, Special Envoy to the Sahel States Alliance, representatives of the Ghanaian government, excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to welcome you to the 5th edition of the West Africa Mining Security Conference, WAMS for short, organised by the Australian High Commission in Ghana in partnership with the Australia Africa Minerals and Energy Group, AMEG, and with MS Risk Limited. I'd like to start by thanking our sponsors, Anglo Gold Ashanti, Parenti, Geogil, Rio Tinto, Perseus Mining, and Lycopodium. And of course, our conference speakers, delegates from the mining industry, security analysts, academics, civil society, the Diplomatic Corps, and representatives from the Australian government who have travelled to Ghana for the conference. I'm particularly pleased that that Australia's ambassador for counterterrorism, Ms. Gemma Huggins, was able to make the trip from Australia, and we will be hearing from her next. The conference has grown into an important platform for dialogue on the evolving security landscape in the sub-region and its implications for mining. The fact that so many of you from across West Africa and beyond have joined us again this year demonstrate both the urgency of the issues and the shared commitment to addressing them. Australia's commercial engagement with West Africa is underpinned by mining. I would estimate it at around 20 to 30 billion worth of investment in the sub-region. Australian companies are active across the region and many have invested here for decades. They contribute not only to sustainable economic growth, but also to regional stability through job creation, skills transfer, and investment in and engagement with local communities. But for these benefits to be realized, mining operations must be conducted in an environment where the impact on mining operations of security and political risk is understood and, as far as possible, mitigated. As we know, the security context in West Africa is shifting, requiring us to rethink our responses to security threats in the region. The growth of terrorism in the Sahel, violent extremism, political instability, complex geopolitics, and new emerging threats present significant challenges for the mining sector. The sector, with its fixed assets and high visibility, is particularly exposed. Deteriorating security in parts of West Africa has the potential to threaten the lives of both foreign and local workers in the resource sector, and also undermine the prospects for new investment longer term. These are not challenges for the sector to confront alone. They require collaboration between states, communities, security providers, and industry. They require that various stakeholders share information on the ground, and that we strengthen the networks that make us all more effective. As the High Commission, here at the High Commission, we're also in regular contact with Australian mining companies in the region almost on a daily basis, and with governments and like-minded embassies across our 9 countries of accreditation in West Africa. And WAMS is the centerpiece of this effort. Over the next 2 days, the conference will bring together leading international analysts, academia, security practitioners, and the mining industry to discuss the increasingly fluid security outlook and how the sector can respond. We'll get updates and analysis on the security outlook for the Sahel and coastal states. We will share knowledge and best practice for mine security professionals, particularly on the afternoon of the second day tomorrow. It is my hope that over the course of the next 2 days, we will gain a clearer understanding of the challenges faced by the mining sector in West Africa, to better inform operational decisions and contingency planning. And this is why this conference matters. It brings together the different perspectives of diplomats, security experts, civil society, and mining companies in a very practical way. It allows us to compare notes on security trends, assess risks, and learn from best practice. And it also reminds us that securing mining operations is not simply about protecting assets. It's about safeguarding livelihoods, stability, and development in the region. I encourage you to make the most of the networking opportunities over the course of the next 2 days. I'm particularly looking forward to hosting our delegates at the High Commission residence tonight. Et j'aimerais aussi souhaiter la bienvenue aux participants francophones. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, High Commissioner. I am now delighted to welcome Ms. Gemma Huggins, Australia's Ambassador for Counter-Terrorism. Ms. Huggins commenced as Australia's Ambassador for Counter-Terrorism in 2025 and is responsible for leading Australia's international engagement on counter-terrorism, including representing Australia at international forums. Ambassador Huggins represents Australia's deep commitment to collaborative security partnerships, recognizing that counter-terrorism efforts are most effective when they respect local contexts and are built on genuine international cooperation. A round of applause as she takes the stage.
Thank you. There's a myriad of microphones up here, so I feel like I've got more height than you, High Commissioner. And I'll just adjust these notes. This is not going to work. Thank you so much for that introduction. I think it's always funny when people hear that I'm the ambassador for counterterrorism, but it's a very good, useful description of what I do in terms of leading Australia's international engagement on counterterrorism. And I also think that, yes, I'm here because I do want to emphasise how important this partnership with Ghana is to Australia, how important countering terrorism on a global level it is for Australia. I first want to thank the High Commissioner for her opening remarks for this impressive conference that has us all assembled here today, and welcome the Honourable Muntaka Mohamed Mubarak, the Minister of the Interior, and the representatives from the Ghanaian government attending this opening session. Your presence here is deeply valued and another indication of our very strong partnership. And I want to extend my sincere gratitude to our sponsors, speakers and our partners, MS Risk and AMEG, for their support for this important event. Based on the turnout today, it is clear that this conference brings together a diverse and experienced group, representatives from the mining and extractive resources industry, think tanks, non-government organisations and diplomatic missions. It seems like only yesterday I had been appointed ambassador in February, and I was in Perth meeting probably with some of you here today, and all I got was fantastic reviews of this event for the networking, the information sharing, and high praise. So I had to, at the invitation of the High Commissioner, I had to come along and see the event for myself. I want to talk at first about the connections between our two countries, because despite the geographical distance between our regions, we are deeply connected. Through our strong people-to-people ties, multilateral linkages, shared security interests, and many commercial partnerships, especially in the resources centre, as is represented here today. And with Ghana in particular, through a robust bilateral relationship and a history of cooperation, including in the Commonwealth and United Nations. Africa is in the middle of significant economic, technological, and population growth, and there are many natural linkages where Australia's relationship with African partners have potential to grow. Australian investment in mining and resources is currently estimated to be around $60 billion across 35 African countries. And Australia also invests in agriculture, education, renewable energy and infrastructure. As has been previously mentioned by our Foreign Minister, Africa is central to the world's economy and its future. The world cannot hope to achieve a global transition to net zero without the contribution of a responsible mining sector in West Africa. And it is important to supplying the critical minerals and rare earths the world needs to cleanly power the future. Africa, however, like the rest of the world, is not immune to the gravest strategic circumstances of our time. Earlier this year, Australia's Director-General for Security issued his annual address, which in his words was the most significant, serious and sober address so far. His prediction is that over the next 5 years, our already complex, challenging and changing security environment will become more dynamic, more diverse and more degraded. He spoke of the major shocks we have seen in recent years: a protracted war in Europe, a global pandemic and conflict in the Middle East, with each of these impacting the world in different ways, exacerbating grievances, undermining social cohesion and elevating intolerance. Is that better? What that means for counterterrorism is that there are many of the regions now that are ripe for radicalisation through this polarisation of society. And he spoke about the most confronting, and he spoke about how the most confronting thing about the new security environment is that there are no single security concern that was flashing red. There were multiple, and terrorism is one of them. In this region, terrorism and violent extremism remain the region's greatest challenges. Australia remains deeply concerned by the destabilising impact it has on regional security and development. It impedes sustainable development and erodes human rights. It undermines economic growth, food security and social cohesion, and it exacerbates displacement. Its implications and effects also extend beyond West Africa. Terrorist affiliates across the region and the continent are playing increasingly significant roles in generating funding and propaganda for networks operating elsewhere in the world. And much of that funding stemming one way or another from illicit mining operations and resource extraction. The complex threat environment in West Africa is further complicated by new technologies that are revolutionising the way violent extremist groups operate and recruit, requiring us to be agile and innovative to adapt to the threat they pose. In the Central Sahel, for example, the rapid increase in drone usage by extremist groups poses a serious challenge to mining companies moving personnel and equipment across vast spaces. And we and our global partners are also seeing the increased usage of AI and social media to translate and spread messaging and propaganda. And I look forward to some very interesting exchanges over the next 2 days about the nature of these threats and different mitigation strategies employed. In 2024, the Sahel remained the most lethal theatre of jihad in Africa for the 4th year in a row, recording over 10,500 fatalities linked to violent extremist organisation. Violent extremist ideologies persist, and we are faced with increasing global uncertainty as terrorist networks continue to adapt and exploit vulnerabilities, including climate change, political instability, and armed conflict. Australia's development investments in climate-resilient agriculture and food security, including the new Africa-Australia Partnership for Climate-Responsive Agriculture, will bolster Africa's ability to withstand the escalating impacts of climate change and combat food security, and in doing so, address some of the key factors in creating fertile ground for radicalisation and terrorism. And Australia is proud to have contributed to work undertaken by Ghanaian organisations, the WACCE and FOSDA, who are in the room today, as well as regional initiatives by the UNDP and WFP to build resilience to these drivers in communities via sensitisation training and livelihood support. We all have a shared interest in the security of West Africa. Australia both respects and endorses the principle of African-led and African-owned solutions. Our investments in counter-terrorism training academies in Côte d'Ivoire and Morocco reflect this commitment to facilitating knowledge exchange among African security practitioners. And we are delighted to have our High Commissioner represent Australia on the AILCT board. Australia continues to contribute to global counter-terrorism efforts and cooperation by sharing knowledge and expertise and by coordinating at the strategic level to ensure that we are taking a joined-up approach to countering terrorism and violent extremism consistent with like-minded partners around the world. And I think this conference is very much an example of our efforts to share information and expertise and coordinate. And I look forward to discussions over the next 2 days. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Ambassador Huggins, for those important remarks on Australia's counter-terrorism engagement and the value of international partnerships. I now have the distinct honor of welcoming Ghana's Minister for the Interior, the Honorable Muntaka Mohamed Mubarak. Minister Muntaka brings both deep local knowledge and extensive parliamentary experience to his role, representing the Asawasi constituency in the Ashanti region, a constituency known for its diversity and highlights the minister's ability to build connections between different communities. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, and good morning to all of us. Permit me to stand on the existing protocol so that I could make some of the time. Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, members of the diplomatic corps, captains of industry, representatives of civil society organizations, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to join you this morning at the West African Mining and Security Conference. I would like to thank the Australian High Commission for organizing this important conference and extending a warm welcome to all our international partners and stakeholders to Accra. Ladies and gentlemen, mining is one of the oldest and most important economic sector in our country and sub-region. Mineral resources remain a central drive of our economies and a source of livelihood for millions of citizens in our country and the sub-region. At the same time, mining is no longer just about economics, but it is increasingly linked to questions of governance, community development, peace, and stability. Your Excellencies, as you are aware, mining has become a frontline concern in West African security landscape, owing to the increasing risk posed by illegal mining activities. Illegal mining is one of the crimes covered by transnational organized crimes. It is an environmental and natural resource crime that endangers the environment and human life. Illegal mining is a predicate offense for money laundering, terrorist financing, and proliferation of arms financing in Ghana and the sub-region. According to the Ghana's money laundering and terrorism financing risk assessment for environment and natural resource crime, 64% of illicit and organized crime proceeds that pose a global security concern are linked to the environmental and natural resource crime, which includes illegal mining. These crimes undermine governance, promote corruption, threaten national stability, regional peace and development, and irreversible climate change, cripple legitimate markets, and facilitate the laundering of criminal proceeds. Ladies and gentlemen, the government, under the leadership of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, has empowered state institutions, including the security agencies, to drastically crack down on illegal mining as part of our comprehensive strategy. Ghana's mining sector is governed by various laws and regulations designed to ensure responsible and sustainable mining practices. These laws establish the legal framework for the exploration, exploitation, and management Ghana's resources, mineral resources, as well as ensuring that mining activities comply with environmental regulations and standards to mitigate their impact on the environment. While the mining industry has made major contribution to Ghana's economic development, unregulated small-scale mining operations have destroyed significant forest cover, polluted water bodies, and harmed the environment in most mining locations. To combat this problem, Ghana has increased enforcement actions against illegal mining, including joint operations of military, police, and other security agencies, and legal prosecutions. There are other environmental protection initiatives being implemented. These include dismantling unlawful operations and providing mercury-free equipment, as well as implementing alternative livelihood programs to address the socioeconomic issues that contribute to illegal mining. Additionally, there is an increase in sensitization and community engagement programs. Government is working closely with civil society organizations to address concerns identified by civil society organizations. The media is equally playing its part to curb this canker. Ghana has also strengthened its collaboration and cooperation with international partners and the sub-region through joint operations, intelligence sharing, and exchange programs to build capacity of officers, as well as integration of technology in fighting crimes, such as use of surveillance tools and drones to monitor illegal sites. Ladies and gentlemen, since January 2025, there has been an arrest of over 1,000 suspects, including both Ghanaians and foreign nationals, seizures of over 600 excavators and champagne machines, as well as nearly 500 water pumps, the prosecutions of over 500 offenders, with several cases resulting in custodial sentences, fines, forfeiture of equipment. The reclamation of approximately 1,200 hectares of degraded land, The Ministry of Interior, in consultation with relevant authorities, have begun work to revise the Extradition Act of 1960, that's Act 22, to provide for easier processes for extradition between countries. Provisions are also being made to alter the Mutual Legal Assistance Act of 2010, that's Act 807. The Ministry, in collaboration with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime and relevant institutions, have developed a draft transnational organized crime strategy and has begun implementation of a project aimed at strengthening regional cooperation and national capacities to combat transnational organized crime and terrorism in the sub-region. Your Excellencies, this is why the West African Mining Security Initiative is so important. Strong collaboration among governments, both internationally and regionally, are required to confront the illegal mining issues, since the threat it poses are transnational, borderless, and not stagnated, but it's an ever-changing industry and dynamic. The participation of our international partners here today, including Australia, demonstrate the benefit of partnership. Australia's experience as a premier mining nation, along with its dedication to peace and security, offers lessons and partnership that we can all learn from. At the same time, we realize the need to establish areas where open and honest conversation can take place. This is why I applaud the Australian High Commission in Ghana for this initiative, one that addresses the core demand and interests of industry, for which I commend you, Your Excellency Berenice, the High Commissioner. Ladies and gentlemen, as you deliberate over the next 2 days, I urge you to focus on practical outcomes. How can we align mining governance with effective and intelligence-driven security framework? It's a question that I'm very grateful you should be pondering over. How can we strengthen regional collaboration to dismantle transnational illegal mining syndicates? And most importantly, how do we ensure that mining is not just about revenue, but about resilient, building peace, creating jobs, and safeguarding our environment for future generations? The stakes could not be higher. Mining can be a force for prosperity and peace, or it can fuel instability and insecurity. The choice is ours to make, and it is one we must make together. Let me conclude by expressing Ghana's gratitude to the government of Australia and the Australian High Commission in Accra for their continuous support and vision and convening these important dialogues. Ghana stands ready to continue playing its part through nationwide enforcement, community engagement, and regional partnership in building a West Africa that is not only rich in resources, but also rich in peace, security, and opportunities. I want to thank all of you for this opportunity this morning, and I hope that you have a very wonderful deliberation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister Muntaka, for that very comprehensive keynote address. Well, I think at this point there's a bit we have to do. As the remainder of our conference is delivered under Chatham House rule, we thank the media for your interest in covering the opening ceremony and kindly request you now leave the room. The Australian High Commissioner and representatives from some of our key sponsors will be available outside to share a few additional remarks with the media. And I would urge everyone to please bear with us as these things happen. The media is now going to take leave of us. The minister as well will be departing from this very gathering at this point.
Are we alone yet? Thank you. Hello. Great. Again, thank you so much for your patience. As mentioned already, this part of the conference will proceed under Chatham House rule. For those unfamiliar with this rule, I'm off again, am I not? I'm on. Oh, right. So I'll go on quickly. For those unfamiliar with this rule, I'll explain. Now, this practice means that you use the insights, data, and analysis you hear today in your work and decision making. However, and this is the most important part, you cannot attribute specific statements to individual speakers or organizations here. Now, this rule encourages our speakers and delegates to be more candid and our discussions to be more substantive, as participants can now speak more freely, knowing specific comments they make here today in this room won't be directly attributed to them or the organization. Do we all agree? I'd like to think so. As we begin our substantive discussions, it's